Welcome to Home Care Business Insights, your go-to resource for exploring the many aspects of running a successful home care business. Whether you're an industry pro, new entrepreneur, or just curious about the industry, this podcast offers strategies, tips, and solutions to help you succeed. While AI-generated voices host the episodes, the insights are real and designed with your growth in mind. Let's dive into what matters most in building a thriving home care business. Now let's hear from our AI hosts.
Today, we're doing something really focused. We're looking at one of the biggest moves an entrepreneur can make, that jump from a stable career, maybe in corporate, into the world of franchising.
And not just any franchising. We're zeroing in on the home care industry, which is, incredibly rewarding, but also incredibly demanding.
Exactly. We're going to drill down into 9 really essential elements that successful entrepreneurs say are the most valuable parts of a system when they're making a choice.
Right. Because if you're thinking about this, if you're about to make a huge investment of time, of money, and frankly, of heart, you have to know what you're actually buying.
Yes. What is that strategic advantage? So we're going beyond the glossy brochure today to really unpack the blueprint, the engine, and the culture that a top-tier franchise has to deliver.
And that strategic advantage, that leverage, is exactly what the smart entrepreneurs are looking for. They know starting from scratch is a huge risk. But in home care, the risk is just compounded.
Oh, so?
Well, you've got heavy regulations, you've got a really volatile labor market, and you have this absolute non-negotiable need for families to trust you from the first phone call.
Right. Instantly.
Instantly. So the people who choose franchising, they're not trying to get out of working hard. They're looking for leverage. They want to buy their way out of the slow, painful, and super expensive part of designing the business.
So they can focus on what really matters.
Exactly. Leadership, growth, and actually making an impact in their community. That's the goal.
That idea of leverage is so key. So let's dive in. Let's start with the foundation, the structural pieces that are supposed to give you confidence and, do that heavy lifting right from the start.
Let's do it. The foundational blueprint.
Okay, so the very first thing, say it's non-negotiable, is the proven business model and playbook for success. Now, that phrase sounds great, but let me play devil's advocate for a second.
Please.
If I'm an experienced business person, why can't I just build my own model?
Yeah.
Hire some consultants. Why is getting a pre-tested system such a massive advantage right out of the gate?
It's a great question, and the answer really comes down to 3 things: complexity, regulation, and time. In a simple retail franchise, maybe it's about, where you put the store and what's on the shelves.
Sure. Location, location, location.
Right. But in home care, the model isn't about a product. It's about managing this incredibly complex 24/7 scheduling matrix. It's about navigating a tough labor market. The trial and error phase is just too expensive and too risky to do on your own.
Okay, so when we say a validated operational blueprint, what does that actually mean? Like, what am I holding in my hands? What's in that playbook?
It's so much more than just a manual on a shelf. Think of it more like an encyclopedia of efficiency and compliance. We're talking about clear processes, systems, and what are called standard operating procedures, or SOPs.
For everything?
For almost every single touch point of the business. Let's get specific. For a home care franchisee, the SOPs tell you the exact steps for a client intake assessment.
Okay.
How to do that first needs evaluation, how to legally document the care that's needed, and then how to build a customized care plan that is 100% compliant. That detail, that's what gives you consistency and protects you legally from day one.
And I'm guessing that has to include the biggest headache of all, which is staffing.
Oh, absolutely. The playbook has detailed protocols for recruiting caregivers, but more importantly, for retaining them. It's got best practices for background checks, for screening, for performance management.
Things an independent owner would have to invent themselves.
Exactly. And even more critical, it tackles the constantly changing rules. Take something like electronic visit verification, EVV. It's now mandatory in a lot of states to, prevent fraud.
Right, I've heard about that. Sounds complicated.
It's incredibly complex. If you're on your own, you have to research the software, buy it, integrate it, and build all the workflows for your team to use it. A franchisee gets that entire infrastructure and the compliant workflow handed to them, ready to go.
Wow. That's not just a time saver. That's months of work and headaches just gone.
Months. And thousands of dollars. And the real proof of a great playbook is its track record of success across multiple markets. This is so important.
Why is the multi-market piece so crucial?
Because you might figure out a system that works great in, say, suburban Florida, but what happens when you try to open in a dense urban market in California? The demographics are different, the competition is different, the regulations are different.
And the way people pay for care is different too, right? Private pay versus government programs.
Precisely. You might go from a market that's all private pay to one that's heavily reliant on Medicare or VA benefits. A proven franchise model has already shown that it's robust enough to work in all those different environments. It's portable.
So the bottom line for the entrepreneur is you get to skip that whole painful design phase. You're not guessing. You lead straight into execution.
That's the leverage you're buying. You're not focused on designing the business. You're focused on leading your team and serving your clients from the very beginning.
Which perfectly sets up the second element from our sources. All that structure props up your brand recognition and credibility. And in home care, I mean, trust is a whole currency of the business.
It's everything. If a family doesn't trust you and trust you implicitly, that conversation is over before it even starts. You have to have instantaneous trust.
And starting from scratch, that takes years to build.
Years. But when you join a strong franchise, you instantly connect your local business to a known, trusted national brand. That reputation, built over millions of hours of service, becomes your reputation on day one. It's a powerful, immediate asset.
Okay, but let's push on that. Does that national brand name really help me get my first client in, my local town? Or is it just a nice logo on my business card?
It absolutely translates, and not just with clients directly. Yes, a family in crisis looking for care is much more likely to call a name they recognize. But the real strategic value, the hidden gem, is with referral partners.
What do you mean by that?
Doctors, hospital discharge planners, geriatric care managers, social workers. These professionals are the lifeblood of referrals in this industry, and they operate on protocols and, frankly, on minimizing their own liability.
I see where you're going with this.
They are far more likely to refer their patients, especially complex cases, to a known franchise with national quality standards than they are to a brand new, unproven independent agency.
So the brand isn't just a marketing asset. It's a business development tool. It opens doors that would otherwise be locked tight.
Exactly. It's a strategic lever. And that credibility helps you with hiring, too. The best caregivers, the best nurses, they want to work for professional, stable organizations. The brand helps you attract and, just as importantly, retain the best talent.
And I'm guessing you also get all the marketing materials to go with it.
Of course. Professionally designed, legally vetted marketing materials and messaging. No more, homemade flyers or a website that looks like it was built in 1999. You get a polished, cohesive presentation from the start that reinforces that credibility.
So the brand is really a dual engine. It accelerates trust with families while at the same time opening up these crucial professional referral channels.
That's the power of brand capital. It can shorten your market entry timeline by years.
Which brings us directly to the next point in our sources, predictability and reduced risk. This is probably the biggest emotional driver for someone leaving a safe corporate job.
It really is. They're trading security for a venture that feels risky, and they need to know that the franchise path genuinely lowers that risk.
So how does it do that in a tangible way?
Well, first, let's be clear. No business is risk-free. But franchising changes the entire risk calculation. The first layer of that is operational. Entrepreneurs get what the sources call predictable operational steps.
A roadmap.
A very clear roadmap. They know what milestones to hit before they even open. They know what their staffing should look like at month 6. They know the typical path to getting a sustainable number of clients. It removes that paralysis of what do I do next that plagues so many solo business owners.
I get the operational part. But what about the financial risk? Franchises have big upfront fees and ongoing royalties.
Right.
If my local market is slow to take off, that fixed cost could sink me. That feels like a huge risk.
It's a critical question, and every potential franchisee should be asking it. The answer isn't based on just hoping for the best. It's based on data. An independent owner is working off generic industry reports? Maybe some projections they cooked up in a spreadsheet? A franchisee gets access to financial models based on proprietary data from the franchise system itself.
So real numbers from real businesses.
Exactly. Real profit and loss statements, real cash flow data from dozens or even hundreds of other owners in markets just like theirs. It allows you to model your own investment against Verifiable benchmarks, not just theory.
What kind of benchmarks are we talking about? What are the key numbers they get to see?
The most important ones. They see benchmarks for caregiver retention rates, which is a huge factor in your costs. They see the average lifetime value of a client. They see typical revenue growth quarter by quarter.
Wow.
And they get insight into how to best use their initial capital, when to spend on marketing versus hiring an administrator. This collection of real-world data gives you a much clearer and therefore less risky path to breaking even and becoming profitable.
So that security, knowing the model has already worked in all these different places, that's the difference between taking a calculated risk and just taking a gamble.
It is. You're investing with a much higher degree of confidence because you're using documented evidence. You know the most common mistakes have already been found and hopefully fixed within the system's design.
Okay, so this foundational blueprint gives you the playbook, the instant trust from the brand, and the financial security from real data. That's a powerful start.
It sets the stage. Now we can move from the design of the business to the day-to-day execution. This is where the operational engine really kicks in.
Right. Section 3 is all about that engine, the resources that turn the blueprint into a real, growing business. And it starts with comprehensive training and ongoing support. For a lot of people entering home care from a totally different field, say an engineer or a corporate manager, this support system is probably the single most important thing they're looking for.
I would say it's the make or break factor for anyone coming from outside of healthcare. I mean, these are smart, accomplished people. They understand leadership. They understand P&Ls.
But they don't know the specifics of home care.
They don't know the regulatory minefield. They don't know the insane complexity of a care schedule or the constant churn in the caregiver labor market. They need real mentorship that goes way beyond reading a manual.
But this has to be continuous. It can't just be a one-week boot camp when you sign up. So what does that ongoing support structure actually look like, especially when rules are always changing?
It starts with a really robust initial training, of course. That's the launch pad. It gets you operational quickly on the core systems, the compliance rules, the sales process. But you're right, the magic is in what happens next.
Right.
The best franchisors provide ongoing coaching and mentorship that's actually tailored to what you're facing in your market right now.
Let's use an example. You mentioned the labor market. HR in home care is just a constant battle. How does the ongoing support help with the sheer complexity of that? You know, new rules about overtime, paid leave, training requirements.
That's a perfect example. The franchisor's central office, their HR department, they take on the burden of tracking all those changes. So if your state passes a new paid sick leave law, you don't have to become a legal expert overnight.
What happens instead?
The franchisor updates the employment contract templates for you. They revise the payroll guidelines. They provide training on how to implement the new policy. The guidance covers everything: marketing, sales, HR, and compliance. You're not rewriting your HEPA manual every 2 years. You're just executing the updated procedures they give you.
That's a huge weight off your shoulders, just the legal and administrative overhead alone. And with caregiver turnover being, what, 40, 50, 60% in this industry, having support on recruiting and retention must be invaluable.
It is. But beyond just what the corporate office provides, you can't underestimate the power of peer learning. The other franchisees.
Yes. The sources show that franchisees place a huge value on regular conferences and peer groups. This is where the whole system turns into this massive real-time research and development lab.
So the best ideas might actually come from the field, not from headquarters.
Often they do.
So you're not alone trying to solve these problems. You're tapping into the collective brain power of the whole network.
Exactly. It fights that isolation, and it drives innovation way faster than any single owner ever could.
That collaboration is a perfect bridge to the next point, the marketing and sales infrastructure. You can be great at managing care, but that doesn't mean you're a great chief marketing officer.
And you shouldn't have to be. A good franchise eliminates the need for you to invent a growth strategy from scratch or, waste a lot of money trying things that don't work. So where does that start?
It starts at the top with the national or regional brand marketing campaigns. This is the big picture stuff that drives general awareness and trust on a scale a single location could never afford. That's what gets your brand name into people's minds.
But I still need my phone to ring in my specific town. How does this system help me get local leads?
Through very disciplined, proven strategies. You get access to Lead generation playbooks that have been tested and refined across all kinds of markets. They tell you which digital channels work, which community outreach programs to focus on, and critically, which referral strategies get the best results for a local agency like yours.
So I don't have to guess about where to spend my marketing dollars.
You're not guessing, and you're not creating everything from scratch. The sources talk about turnkey campaigns. What that actually means is that every month, you get ready-to-use materials.
Like what am I getting?
Pre-approved content for your blog, email newsletters, professional social media graphics, ad layouts. Your job shifts from being a content creator to being a local deployer of that content. It saves countless hours and ensures everything is professional and compliant.
Okay, so the system helps me get the phone to ring. But getting that call is only half the battle. You have to convert that inquiry, which can be a very sensitive conversation, into a client.
And that takes process and professionalism. The franchise provides the tools for that too. Sales training, scripts, playbooks. This ensures every interaction from that first call to the in-home assessment is handled with consistent quality.
And there's a tech piece to this too, right? A CRM system.
A huge tech piece. The customer relationship management system, the CRM, is the backbone of this. In home care, it's not just a list of names. It's the operational heart of your growth.
How does it work in this context?
It helps you manage that journey from the first call to a signed contract. But more importantly, it helps you manage your referral sources. It makes sure you're following up with that hospital discharge planner. It tracks your conversations, and it lets you see your actual conversion rates and compare them to the system-wide benchmarks.
So you know if your team is performing well or if they need more training.
Exactly. This blend of strategy and technology lets you maximize your marketing dollars and focus your energy on the human part building trust with the families.
This whole blend, from the big national ads down to a specific sales script, is so critical. It lets you focus on what you got into the business for, which is providing great care.
Which brings us to the operational guts of the business in Source Point 5, operational efficiencies and technology. This is where the system really saves you time and money and lets you scale.
Yeah, I can only imagine trying to start from scratch and figure out what software to buy for scheduling, for billing, for client records. It would be totally overwhelming.
It would be. And this is where the franchisor's multi-million-dollar investment really pays off for the local owner. You get immediate access to industry-specific software that's been built precisely for the complexities of home care.
And the key is that it's all integrated, right? It's not a bunch of separate programs that don't talk to each other.
Integration is everything. An independent might try to patch together a generic CRM with some off-the-shelf accounting software. A strong franchise provides a seamless system where the sales CRM talks to the electronic medical record, which talks to the scheduling system, which talks to payroll.
Why is that integration so important day to day?
Because it creates automated workflows that ensure compliance and accuracy. Think about it. A caregiver finishes a shift. The app on their phone with GPS verifies their location. That's your EVV compliance right there.
Got it.
That data automatically flows into the system to calculate their pay, and at the same time, it generates the correct invoice for the client, all automatically. It drastically reduces manual data entry, which cuts down on human error and saves a ton of administrative time.
Wow. That one workflow probably eliminates half of a full-time admin's job right there.
At least. These are the kinds of automations that are essential if you want to scale your business without having to hire an army of office staff.
It frees up your team to focus on things that matter more, like talking to clients and supporting caregivers.
Precisely. And the savings don't stop there. The collective buying power of a national brand is a huge, often overlooked benefit. We're talking about vendor partnerships and negotiated pricing.
On what kinds of things?
Liability insurance, which is very expensive in this industry. Software licenses. The background check services you have to run on every employee. Medical supplies. The discounts you get as part of a large group drastically reduce your operating costs compared to what an independent owner pays.
That's a real compounding saving that hits your bottom line every single month.
And it's all anchored by quality assurance programs. These are systems built right into the technology that help you maintain high standards as you grow. Things like automated client satisfaction surveys, regular audits of care plans, performance tracking for your staff.
And that quality feeds right back into your brand reputation.
It creates a virtuous cycle. Better quality leads to better retention of clients and caregivers, which leads to a more stable, profitable business.
So this execution engine, the support, the marketing, and the tech, it all works together to make sure the business runs smarter, not just harder.
That's the goal. Maximum impact, maximum efficiency.
Okay, so we've covered the blueprint and the engine, the nuts and bolts. Now let's shift to the more human side of this, the culture, the community, and the long-term vision.
The heart of the business.
Yeah. Point 6 is all about community and peer support.
Yeah.
I know for a lot of people, especially those leaving a big company, the biggest fear about starting a business is the isolation.
It's the silent killer of so many small businesses. When you're a solo entrepreneur, you're facing every single challenge alone. A sudden regulatory change, a key employee quits, a local recession hits, and you have no one to talk to who really gets it.
But in a franchise, that isolation is replaced by a network.
Instantly, you are immediately part of a collective of other owners who are on the exact same journey.
So what does that look like in practice? Let's say I'm dealing with a really tough, immediate problem. How does the network actually help?
Well, first, you get immediate access to sharing best practices. Let's say a franchisee in a big city just cracked the code on recruiting nurses in a super competitive market. That knowledge gets shared across the network almost instantly through forums, calls, meetings.
So you're not constantly reinventing the wheel.
Never. You're tapping into a massive pool of solutions that saves you weeks of frustration and wasted money. And it's not just top-down advice from corporate. It's horizontal, peer-to-peer support. The best, freshest ideas are coming from the field.
So it's mentorship and troubleshooting from people who are in the trenches with you.
Exactly. Think of a crisis scenario. A big snowstorm is coming that's going to wreck your schedule. Or a new state licensing rule just dropped that no one understands. The odds are someone else in the network has already dealt with that exact problem and can tell you how they handled it. It's a real-time sounding board.
And I can't imagine you can overstate the emotional value of that community.
It's vital for your own resilience. Entrepreneurship is a roller coaster of highs and lows. Having a community that genuinely understands how big of a deal it is to pass a state audit or land a major new referral contract, that is incredibly motivating.
It changes the whole experience. You're not on a solo mission. You're part of a team, even though you run your own business in your own territory.
A very supportive team, all driving toward the same goals.
Now let's talk about the long game. Next point is about scalability and growth pathways. This is for that ambitious person who isn't just thinking about one small office. They want to build an enterprise.
And a good franchise system has to be built for that ambition from day one. It starts with something fundamental: defined territory rights.
That sounds important.
It's foundational. It gives you security. It means the franchisor can't just sell another franchise right across the street from you. It protects your investment and your potential to grow within your exclusive market.
But once you've stabilized that first unit,
Yeah.
there has to be a clear path to expand.
Yes, through clear multi-unit growth options. The best systems don't just allow it, they actively encourage their high-performing owners to take on adjacent territories or open more offices. But the most important part is that the underlying systems can actually support that scale.
So the technology and processes we talked about earlier.
They have to be robust enough.
Yeah.
The systems that work for a 20-client agency also have to work without breaking for a 200 or 500-client agency. You shouldn't have to tear everything down and rebuild your back office just because you're successful.
So you're not constantly hitting an operational ceiling that stops your growth.
You shouldn't be. The foundation has to be strong enough for that exponential growth. And for the real leaders in the system, there are even pathways for them to have a bigger impact, like serving on advisory councils or mentoring new owners.
So you can evolve from just being an operator to being a real stakeholder and a leader in the whole system.
Precisely. It's a path for growth that goes way beyond just the four walls of your own office.
Okay, we saved this last point for the end, but in the world of home care, this might be the most important element of all. It's mission-driven work.
I think you're right. This is the why. It's what separates a care franchise from, a fast food franchise. Yes, you need to make a good return on your investment, but the data is clear. For people in home care, the primary driver is often a deep desire for purpose, for legacy. It's not just about profit.
So many people who come into this field have a personal story. They struggled to find care for their own parent, or they saw a huge need in their community. They're looking for a business model that lets them fulfill a mission.
They want to know that their hard work is making a real difference. The value they're looking for is making a meaningful impact right there in their own community. Their main focus, which the franchise system allows, is improving the quality of life for their clients.
Giving people dignity and safety at home.
That's the intrinsic reward. That's what gets you through the tough days.
And that impact just ripples outward, doesn't it? It's not just the clients.
Not at all. You're also creating jobs and supporting local families. A successful franchisee quickly becomes a significant local employer, offering real career paths for caregivers and office staff. You become part of the economic fabric of your town.
So when you put it all together, the structure, the support, the mission, it all comes down to legacy building.
That's the ultimate goal for these purpose-driven entrepreneurs. They aren't just trying to maximize a short-term profit. They're building something that lasts, something that serves a vital human need, and something that leaves a positive mark on society. The stability and the scalability of the franchise model is what allows that legacy to be built and to endure.
So we've covered all 9 elements. We started with the foundational blueprint, the model, and the brand. We moved through the operational engine, the tech, and the support. And we've landed here with the long-term rewards of community growth and legacy.
Yeah, and if you step back and look at the whole journey, what the entrepreneur is really doing is making a very calculated trade. You're trading the isolation and the huge risk of building a compliant business from scratch for a proven structure, continuous support, and a built-in network. The best franchise systems give you this incredible blend of structure and support, but also the freedom to focus your own talents where they matter most, on leadership, on growth, and on that community impact.
Think about everything the system is handling for you in the background. The compliance software, the sales scripts, the quality assurance, the HR updates. If the system is managing all of that complexity and all of that uncertainty for you, what are you left free to master?
You're left to master the most important human parts of the business. Leadership, building relationships, delivering excellent service, connecting with your community.
Exactly. And that's the final thought we want to leave you with today. If you're considering this path, think about this. If the franchise gives you the powerful engine, the proven map, your entire job shifts. You become the expert pilot, driving that vehicle to create an incredible local impact. What does your focus look like when the biggest risks are managed and the path is clear?
It's a powerful question to consider.
We encourage you to keep exploring, and we'll see you next time.